Hey everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a ZtormLabostix article. This audio podcast is part of a Seed Solar Storm. This audio podcast is part of a Stax'n'um edition, and this audio podcast is part of a ZtormLabostix production. In this audio podcast today, looking at Haemolytic Uraemic Syndrome and the management around Haemolytic Uraemic Syndrome in diagnosed recipients. So, historically, evidence informs that there should always be a supportive information made available for patients, carers, or guardians. Hemodialysis treatment is tends to be historically has tended to be the sort of go-to sort of treatment or modality until renal function is back to normal. If there is sort of a probability that renal function can go back to normal. The Another sort of form of management in around HUS, hemolytic uremic syndrome, is to control the arterial blood pressure, owing to the nature of the anemia, and also the challenges in around the glomeruli, where the glomeruli tend to have to work harder or faster to ensure there's an alleviation of toxins from the blood. There is in pediatrics and young people diagnosed with HUS, arterial blood pressure, or ABP, is one of the main challenge. Can be one of the main challenges. There's also red cell transfusion in pediatrics. Historically, had been common to because of the symptomology, and again in around anemia, in around low hemoglobin, and in around anemia. And there is also again evidence that platelet transfusions can actually make the conditions in around hemolytic uremic syndrome worse. And fraction frozen plasma, or FFP, has been administered in has been evidenced as being administered as a form of treatment in amongst hemolytic uremic syndrome recipients that have transitioned from pediatric kidney services, kidney care services, into adult renal healthcare services. So those are some of the forms of management, sort of hemolytic uremic syndrome, or HUS forms of management. And in amongst the literature, there are treatments. There are more sort of treatments in around monoclonal antibodies. And so listeners and viewers are more than welcome to check out sort of the more current literature in around HUS. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a ZtormLabostix article. This audio podcast is part of a Seed Solar Storm. This audio podcast is part of a Stax'n'um edition. This audio podcast as part of a ZtormLabostix production.